On August 4th, 2018, in Glendale, which is a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, a 19-year-old woman, Kiera Bergman, reported to work at a leasing company after her return from California with her 22-year-old boyfriend, Jon Christopher Clark. Her boyfriend, Jon, had been abusing and controlling her for some time during the course of their relationship. On that day, Kiera had a FaceTime conversation with her boyfriend. Jon, unfortunately, the conversation turned into an argument. The arguments made Kiera to become upset, so she decided to leave work earlier than usual. At around 10:30 a.m., her boyfriend Jon came and picked her up from work since she wasn't feeling well, and they went back to the apartment. Once at the apartment, they started arguing again. During their argument, Jon told Kiera that he wanted to move to Texas to live with his aunt. Kiera got very angry when she heard this, and so their argument got more intense, and Kiera left the apartment at around 1 p.m. Unfortunately, that night, Kiera never returned home and nobody ever heard from her again. A month later, Kiera was found dead, who killed her. This is the story of Kiera Bergman. Kiera Bergman was born on July 18, 1999 in San Diego, California. Her mother was known as Christy Custer and her father was Chris Bragg. Christy was a softball player, and she also wanted her daughter, Kiera Bergman, to follow into her footsteps when she grows up. Even though Kiera and her younger sister, Kyla Bergman, were born in San Diego, they grew up in El Cajon, California, where their parents had relocated to, and while there, they were raised by their parents. As Kiera was growing up, she developed a passion in fashion and hair. She was also artistic. She loved to sing. She attended Liberty Charter High School in Lemon Grove, California. After graduating in the year 2017, she briefly attended San Diego City College. She also wanted to pursue her dream career of doing hair and makeup, so she ended up getting a grant for cosmetology school. Kiera had a big heart, and she had planned that at least once or twice a month, she would go to the homeless and do their hair and makeup for free to make them feel better about themselves. Kiera continued working as she studied part-time. However, in November 2017, when she was 18 years old, she met a 22-year-old man named Jon Christopher Clark on Tinder after one of her friends had set up a profile for her. Jon was originally from Phoenix, Arizona, but he was currently living in California at the time he met Kiera. So after meeting the two, began dating. Their relationship was perfect at the start, and Kiera even told her family how nice Jon was and how she really liked him. However, later on, when Kiera's mother met Jon, she discovered that there was something she didn't like about him. Her suspicions were confirmed when she noticed that Jon was trying to isolate Kiera from her life. Within months into Kiera and Jon's relationships, Jon began controlling her life. He even placed her cell phone in his name. Even though they lived close to Kiera's mother home, the mother could not help but worry about the safety of her daughter. In March 2018, that is 4 months into their relationship, Jon wanted to go back to Phoenix, Arizona, and he wanted to go with Kiera. So Kiera dropped out of cosmetology school to go with her boyfriend to Phoenix, Arizona. Kiera informed her parents about their departure, but her mother was not happy with the idea of Jon taking her along. Even though she didn't have the powers to stop them, Christy was afraid that something bad was going to happen to her daughter. Fortunately, Kiera had a friend who lived in Phoenix, Arizona. Her name was Destiny, and the two had studied together at the same high school. Jon and Kiera moved to Glendale, which is a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, and they settled down in the same apartment around 51st Avenue in the Thunderbird neighborhood. Unfortunately, neither of them had a job. Jon started scamming people so that he could earn a living. But unfortunately, not long, he was arrested by the police. He was then later on let out on probation. When he was free, he forced Kiera to take a loan on her car so that they could buy furniture. Kiera did as Jon said, but unfortunately, after getting the money from her car, Jon took the money and never bought any furniture. As if that was not enough, Jon canceled her cell phone line. Therefore, nobody could reach her. So the only way that her family could reach her was through Facebook or Instagram messaging. Their relationship was falling apart little by little because of Jon's controlling behaviors. Kiera eventually got a job working at a leasing company, but unfortunately, her boyfriend was still jobless. A few weeks later, Kiera and her boyfriend Jon broke up, and this forced her to move in with her friend Destiny. She then informed her parents about the breakup, and her mother was happy that her daughter was free. However, a month later, Kiera and Jon got back together, and she again called her parents and informed them about their reunion. She told them that Jon had changed, and therefore she decided to give him another chance. Her parents couldn't understand why they had to get back together, but unfortunately, there was nothing they could do about it. After Kiera and Jon had reunited, Jon moved into the apartment that Kiera was sharing with her friend Destiny. Unfortunately, not long after he moved in with them, his controlling behaviors against Kiera started again. Despite Kiera knowing that her boyfriend Jon was not a good person, she still stayed with him. Again, her parents began to talk to her for lesser time, like before, and this made the parents to be concerned about her safety. In the months that followed, Jon returned to California to deal with his probation, and he took Kiera with him. When they returned to California, Kiera reunited with her family, and together, they all went out on a dinner to eat. At the dinner table, they got into an argument after Kiera was going to order what her boyfriend Jon wanted from the menu. Kiera's demeanor changed. She then had a fallout with her father. Later on, Kiera and Jon returned to Arizona. On August 4th, 2018, Kiera and her friend Destiny went to work at the leasing company where they were both employed. However, at some point during the day, Kiera had a FaceTime conversation with Jon. Unfortunately, the conversation turned into an argument. The arguments made Kiera to become upset, so she decided to leave work earlier than usual. At around 10:30 a.m., her boyfriend Jon came and picked her up from work since she wasn't feeling well, and they went back to the apartment. Once at the apartment, they started arguing again. During their argument, Jon told Kiera that he wanted to move to Texas to live with his aunt. Kiera got very angry when she heard this, and so their argument got more intense, and Kiera left the apartment at around 1 p.m. 57 minutes later, Destiny received a text from Kiera's phone saying that her phone was about to die. In the text, Kiera added that she was done with Jon. Kiera said that she had met a guy a few days ago at a furniture store where they both worked at, and then she asked her to pick him up. In the text, she said that she was at his house chilling. The text ended with Kiera telling Destiny that she would call her when she got a charger. Destiny found the message strange because she discovered the message wasn't written how Kiera usually texts. Also, she knew that Kiera wasn't the type of a person to meet a strange man, then go over to his house. Unfortunately, that night, Kiera never returned home, and the text was the last communication from her phone. 2 days later, that is August 6th, 2018, nobody had seen Kiera. She had not gone to her workplace, and she had also not gone home. So, at noon that day, Destiny called Kiera's parent and informed her mother that Kiera hasn't been home and she hasn't spoken to her. The parents were shocked to hear that saddening news. Destiny then told them about the texts she received from Kiera's phone. The parents, who were now scared, didn't think that those texts came from their daughter. Christy could not believe that her daughter would leave with another man and cut off communication with them. They believed that something was wrong. After Destiny had spoken to Kiera's parent, she contacted Phoenix Police Department and filed a missing persons report. She told the police about the text messages that she received from Kiera's phone. At first, the police suspected that Kiera had left on her own, but later on they confirmed that she might be in danger, and the search for her began. Meanwhile, Kiera's parents drove to Glendale. They called Kiera's phone, but the phone had been turned off, so their call went to voicemail. While in Glendale, Kiera's younger sister hoped that she would return, but that never happened. Days went by without Kiera's family knowing about their daughter's whereabouts, and their hopes of finding her alive began to fade. Her family knew that the last person she was with was Jon, and so they gave the police that information. When the police went to the apartment where Jon and Kiera lived, they found out that he had already left. The police found out that he went to stay at one of his friend's house. They finally managed to bring him in for questioning. During the interview, Jon denied having anything to do with Kiera's disappearance. However, he was able to inform them about the last time he saw her. Kiera's parents were convinced that Jon knew more about their daughter's disappearance, so when the police interviewed them, they told them about Jon and Kiera's relationship. They also informed them about Jon's behaviors before and after Kiera's disappearance. When the police heard this, they began to dig deep about the relationship between Jon and Kiera. Meanwhile, the family had begun an all-out search for her. They created flyers and passed them out all over Glendale and the Phoenix area. Her sister created a Facebook page where they shared information about her disappearance. The family also established a GoFundMe to help with their search efforts. On August 10th, 2018, her family held a vigil back in her hometown, and local news outlets in Arizona and California went there to cover the story. When the story about Kiera's disappearance spread, people began suspecting her boyfriend, Jon. Therefore, on August 13th, 2018, which was on a Monday, 20 tactical officers located Jon at the hotel where he was staying, and when he went to check out of the hotel, he was surrounded by the officers who handcuffed him and placed him at the back of the police car. He was then taken to the police station where he was asked to take a lie detector test. The police got a search warrant for his phone, car, and the place where he had been staying. Unfortunately, they didn't find anything to connect him to Kiera's disappearance. However, in his vehicle, they found 20 ID cards belonging to different people. Investigators said that they found numerous items with personal identification information as well as forgery items. Jon was arrested that day and booked into the local jail. The police also spoke to his family and friends, but they didn't find any evidence that could link him in Kiera's disappearance. At the police station, Jon maintained his innocence, but Kiera's parents were sure that he was involved in their daughter's disappearance. Jon sent a Facebook message to Kiera's dad where he angrily accused him and Kiera's mother for being the reason why she wanted to move to Arizona in the first place. He alleged that she had told him things about her dad that made him want to kick his teeth in, but he didn't do it out of respect for Kiera. When the investigators visited the apartment that Kiera shared with Jon and Destiny, they found Kiera's purse thrown in the back of her closet. Inside the purse were personal items like her cards and ID. However, they didn't find her cell phone. While Jon remained in jail, the police continued with the search for Kiera. Fortunately, on September 3rd, 2018, about 50 miles from Glendale, in a deserted area in Buckeye, Arizona, cyclists riding down the highway found a partially clothed, decomposing body. They called 911, and soon the police arrived at the scene, but unfortunately they were unable to identify the victim because of the advanced decomposition. They brought the body to the medical examiner, and it was determined that the body belonged to Kiera. The cause of her death wasn't able to be determined, but the manner of her death was ruled as homicide. The family were devastated to learn about the death of their daughter. Once the investigators learned that Kiera's death was a homicide, they immediately went to speak to Jon. During the questioning, Jon told the police that he was familiar with the area where Kiera's body was found. Once they told him that they had found Kiera's remains, Jon asked for a lawyer. On September 11th, 2018, investigators announced that they had gathered enough evidence through bank records, cell phone data, and witness statements to secure a warrant for Jon's arrest. The police alleged that on the day that Kiera went missing, her cell phone data put her and Jon inside the apartment at the time that the text message about being at a man's house was sent to Destiny. The police also discovered that both of their phones were connected to the internet router inside the apartment. Jon had told investigators previously that Kiera had left the apartment at about 1 p.m., but the data was telling a different story. Investigators said that shortly after the text was sent from Kiera's phone, Jon went to an ATM where he withdrew $500 from Kiera's account. He then went to a gas station and used her debit card to fill up his tank. Police also had several witnesses, and one of them was Destiny, who said that Jon was controlling Kiera. She added that Kiera wasn't even allowed to go to the store by herself. She also said that Jon was physically abusive and that she had seen bruises on Kiera on several occasions. Kiera and Jon's neighbors also revealed to Kiera's family that they had seen Jon and another man carrying garbage bags out of the apartment. All of the information investigators had gathered led them to one conclusion: that Jon had killed Kiera. After Jon was arrested, he was charged with the murder of Kiera on September 14th, 2018. Unfortunately, a judge dismissed the case against Jon. The judge said that the prosecutors had failed to turn over certain legally required information during discovery. However, the judge allowed for the prosecutors to refile the charges if they could provide that required information. And so, in May 2019, Jon was indicted again. His trial was initially supposed to be on February 2020, but then it was moved back to March and then April. But in late March, again, a judge dismissed the charges against Jon. The judge said that the prosecution had displayed extreme negligence when they did not provide evidence to the defense in a timely manner, and they had failed to follow up on tips provided by a silent witness. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, many courts were closed and grand juries were unable to be convened, and so Kiera's family and prosecutors would have to wait. Meanwhile, Jon was free. Although he was under court supervision from the identity theft and forgery charges, he was free. But Kiera's family wasn't ready to give up. Even though the case was dismissed twice, they were determined for Jon to be brought to justice. The family requested that the case be moved from Maricopa County to Pinal County in light of the issues with the prosecutors, and because of that, the request was granted. And in January 2022, Jon was once again indicted for Kiera's murder. And in August of 2022, 4 years after she was murdered, Jon's trial began. Prosecutors presented a case that painted Jon as a controlling, abusive boyfriend who killed Kiera and dumped her body. In their opening statement, they said at the end of the trial, "We're still not going to know exactly what happened to Kiera. But medical examiners will tell you their findings, and your common sense and all the other witnesses will tell you this is not an accident, that's murder." But their case was mostly circumstantial. They had no DNA connecting Jon to Kiera's death, and how she died was never able to be determined. Jon's defense attorney argued that there was no evidence connecting his client to Kiera's murder. The trial ended on September 19th, and the jury took 3 days to deliberate. And on September 22nd, 2018, they announced that they had reached a not guilty verdict. Jon was acquitted on charges of second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Kiera's family was shocked, and witnesses inside the courtroom said that they were visibly upset. Because of double jeopardy, Jon can never be tried again for Kiera's murder, and therefore, according to prosecutors, this case is essentially closed. We may never know who killed Kiera, but may her soul rest in peace.